Hello, everyone, and welcome back inside Central Health Training Center for today's episode of Broncos Now. As always, I'm your host, Sydney Jones, and coming up on today's episode, the Broncos were back at practice today as they prepare to face the Cleveland Browns at Empower Field at Mile High this Sunday. We'll hear from head coach Sean Payton, quarterback Russell Wilson, and safety Justin Simmons as they all look ahead. All that and more coming up. Broncos were back at practice today as they prepare to host the Cleveland Browns at Empower Field at Mile High this Sunday. We heard from head coach Sean Payton and quarterback Russell Wilson as they discussed Cleveland's defense and the challenge that they'll pose.
Yeah, I think this defense, Cleveland, they fly around. Obviously, Miles is a tremendous football player. He's playing some of the best football in the National Football League. I got a lot of respect for him. How he plays the game. He's tough. He's physical. He's fast, athletic. He can do everything. I think they got a lot of great players on the defensive side. Denzel Ward's a great player. They got some experience across the secondary too as well, and their linebackers fly around. It's a really good defense. Big Zedarius too is a good football player. So they got a lot of players that can do a lot of great things. I think the best thing for us is just staying on schedule. You don't want to get in third and longs against these guys because their pass rush is real, and you want to be able to slow them down by just staying on schedule on first and second down and making it third down manageable.
We're playing really good defense. We're first in the league in a lot of categories, but he's something else.
And going off of that, head coach Sean Payton and Russell Wilson talked about how this offense will look to be more efficient in the red zone.
First off, we've got to improve in that area. And we feel like, typically you want to have balance and you want to be able to run it, especially when you get in those tight quarters. But it's one of the areas that we talked about offensively. And I just finished with the team. There's a number of things still that that we've got to work on and improve, and that's one of them.
I think we're making our plays in crucial moments, and I think it's just staying on schedule. If that first down play is really critical, that we're not going backwards, and I think that's the big thing about the red zone, just going forward. And so I'm not worried about it. I think we got a really good team, down there. I think we can score some points. I think the best thing about it though is that there's room to improve, and I think that's where our mindset has to be is the incremental gains every week. We want to get better, especially as the season goes on. The way our defense is playing, we love it. They're stopping, getting turnovers and everything else, giving a short field, and we've played some really good teams over the past several weeks too. They do some good things down there in the red zone, and so I think for us is to be able to capitalize in the red zone, it gives us the best chance to win.
With this being an important AFC matchup, head coach Sean Payton and safety Justin Simmons were asked about the playoff picture and how they approach each week.
It's hard in this league. Periodically something will come up and my wife will say, well, that's when we're playing the Chargers. And I'm like, I have no idea when that is. You do get tunnel vision to the next challenge in front of you. And I think hopefully we all do, because I think it's better relative to your preparation and focus. And obviously, as you get further into this and you're around 3, heading into 4, but the thing that's different for me is, being in the NFC this whole time, you always kind of knew who you wanted to lose and win. And I'm still trying to get adjusted to figuring out that's an AFC team. We don't want them to have success. But I think really the focus is inward and on what we have to do. And, so when I drive home from the game the other night, although we won, there's a number of things that, you're mad at yourself because you're wondering, did I cover it well enough? Were they prepared? Why did this happen? And so you can't wait to get back to work, and you're not focused on. And so, look, it's good that the questions are coming. It's better than the alternative, and yet there's just so many things that we've got to get better at. So there's still that race to improve and that race to get better, and the teams that, the 20 teams, let's say that do that better. Will be rewarded.
Yeah, confidence is at an all-time high, and I think, for the guys in the locker room, it should be. There's no reason you shouldn't go into any stadium, especially one at home, and think you can't win this football game. And for us, man, it's just I was sharing it, I think, after we just got done playing Minnesota post game, like, you got to be able to handle the lows and the highs almost the same. And so, starting the season the way that we did, you got to be level-headed, don't overreact, trust in the plan, fix the things that you can control. And then when you're winning, you can't overreact, overhype, control the things that you can control, and put your head down and just keep working, because just because you won a couple games doesn't mean anything at this point. And you got to be able to prove it week in and week out. But also in the same regard, you should have confidence with that too. And there should be some momentum with that. But it's only, like I said, every week, man, when that Tuesday or Wednesday hits, you crumple up last week, you toss it over your shoulder because it doesn't matter anymore. And so that's the mentality for us every week.
Russell Wilson added to that, discussing how he helps lead some of the younger guys in the room now that they're playing in some more meaningful games.
I think there's a few things, too. I think, first of all, is, if you have the right mindset throughout the offseason and training camp and then going into the season, your mindset really shouldn't change. The reality is that if you treat every week as if it's the most important week of your life and the most important day, you get used to it, and you get calloused enough to know that these challenges, these opportunities are just gifts and opportunities and blessings to be able to play the game that we get to love on the biggest stage every week. And so, you don't really waver. You stay neutral on it. I think as you get closer and closer, to the opportunity to be able to do, great things, you realize that this is what you're supposed to be, and I think that's your mentality. You're supposed to have the opportunity, and we just want to be able to have a great chance, and that's the thing. We want to be able to, do our best, and we're focused on this week. We're focused on getting better. I told you guys, I think 2 weeks ago, the best thing you can do is have great fundamentals moving forward. Those are the teams that keep rising. If we can have great fundamentals, great detail, great communication, great belief, that's the formula to success. And especially as the season goes on and crunch time, and people are writing about you, talking about what if this is where they can, all that is just is great noise. But the thing is that to be able to balance it is just focusing on the details and the process and the obsession with the process. And if you love winning, that's the part that you love, is when it's tight and it's crunch time and it's time to play good football.
Now it's time to take a look at today's injury report. Safety P.J. Locke did not participate in practice today. Inside linebacker Josie Jewell, defensive tackle DJ Jones, and running back Samaje Perine were all limited. And outside linebacker Nick Benito, outside linebacker Baron Browning, and defensive tackle Mike Purcell were all full participants. Now joining me here inside the Broncos podcast studio for a more in-depth look at today's news is a fellow reporter, Phil Milani. Phil, thanks for joining me on this Wednesday, per usual.
Thank you for having me. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you, Phil.
Thank
Doing
you very
anything
much.
fun tomorrow?
Just putting a turkey in the oven.
I love it.
Watching some football maybe.
That's
so
good.
Yeah, it should be good.
Same for me.
Yeah, should be fun.
It should be fun. Well, Phil, looking at Sunday's matchup, this is a big one for the playoff picture here.
Yeah, it seems like as the Broncos keep winning like this, every week that you keep going, the games get bigger and bigger. And certainly against a Browns team that is going to be wild card competition, most likely here in the AFC. This is a big one for any potential tiebreakers. That's looking way down the road,
right.
but of
something
course,
to think about now, too.
Something that these games against your conference are a little bit bigger.
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of players and even head coach Sean Payton talked about that today, Phil, about how they're not really looking at the big picture. It's more
vision.
just week by week at this point.
Yeah, he said
smart.
that sort of helps you just stay in your flow and focus on the task at hand. He said that helps with the preparation, not thinking too far ahead. He said, his wife was trying to plan something, and he's like, she was like, that's when we play the Chargers, and he was like, what? I don't know when that is. So,
right.
He's locked in all on the Browns.
Yeah. Well, Phil, I know, of course, quarterback Russell Wilson, he's played in a lot of meaningful games in his career. And, he was asked just how, as a leader, how he kind of approaches these games at this point in the year and how he kind of leads some of the younger guys, because a lot of this team hasn't played in meaningful games.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. He's all about sort of just living every day to the fullest.
Yeah.
That's sort of the way that he approaches life.
Every week is the most important. Yeah.
And so he was like, hey, if you approach every day like it's the most important day, every game like it's the most important game, then nothing really should change for you. And so that's just sort of the mentality that he brings into games like this. And I think that that's a good approach, if that works for him, to just sort of, take everything, as seriously as you can and work as hard as you can every day. And you've seen that work for him, because when the game is really on the line, or when it's one of those crucial moments, he doesn't really show that sort of nervous energy or anything like that. He's just very much the same guy that he is, and he's
calm.
very consistent. Yeah.
Well, Phil, looking at Cleveland, I mean, their defense is probably the best,
defense
in the
NFL
league.
for sure.
Yeah. So what challenge do you think they'll really just present for this offense?
I think that they're giving up just 143 yards through the air per game, which is the top number in the last 40 years.
Wow.
So if they're able to
gosh.
finish the season with that mark, that would mean that they have the best pass defense in the last 40 years. So
that's insane.
Given that, I think that running the football is going to be very important. Last week, the Vikings really did a lot of stuff to take that away from the Broncos. And you saw that Javonte had a hard time getting things going. This is sort of a completely different type of defense. Even Lloyd Cushenberry was saying that in the locker room today, just how different this defense is. Last week, the Vikings did a lot of different kind of blitzing, and you didn't know where the pressure was going to come from. Guys would come up to the line of scrimmage and then back off. He was like, this defense isn't really like that. They just have a lot of really talented players, and they have a lot of first-round picks.
Right.
Myles Garrett is playing out of his mind right now. A couple of weeks ago, he jumped over the line of scrimmage and blocked a field goal.
Oh my God.
So he's like a freak athlete. He can do all kinds of crazy stuff out there. So, and he's leading the league in sacks. He had 2 last week, 13 on the season. And I think that he's either had 4 or 5 games in a row with a sack. So he's going to have to be a priority for this Broncos offense. They're going to have to chip him. They're going to have multiple guys in the way so that he can't just wreck this game. And I think if the Broncos can find some success on the ground, maybe that'll force the Browns to play a little bit different. And then then you could hit a couple of shots deep. I know that Marvin Mims, everybody's so eager to see him get the ball and have those explosive plays. So maybe if you're running the ball well, that'll open stuff up down the field.
Definitely. It's going to be important to be more efficient in the red zone as well. I know head coach Sean Payton talked about that. Russ talked about that as well. Phil, what do you think will, just be the key in doing that?
Yeah, red zone is going to be crucial because this team just doesn't give up that many points, And in fact, their defense forces a lot of 3 and outs. So that can tend to get a little bit frustrating when you just 3 plays and you're off the field again. So I think having patience is going to be important. And then, when you do get into the red zone, you got to really make sure you take advantage of those opportunities. Russ was saying, look, I'm not too concerned about it because he trusts his playmakers. Guys like Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, he trusts them to make the play. He even highlighted Adam Troutman as making some big catches over the last couple of weeks. So I think that putting the ball in position so that your playmakers can make plays, I think that's going to be really important.
Yeah, and Phil, in terms of this Broncos defense, I know we've talked about it a lot now, but 12 takeaways in the past 3 games. I know a lot of people talk about how, taking the ball away comes in bunches, but do you think that's something that they can keep going?
Yeah, PS2, Pat Surtain II, he was talking about that. Before practice, they do these takeaway drills and they work on this type of thing. And I think it's very much a focus and a priority for this Broncos defense. They make it a part of their practice schedule. And then you see that translate to games where if a guy gets held up a little bit like Joshua Dobbs did last week, if he's kind of fighting for extra yards or kind of in a situation where he's not going down right away, everybody's just ripping at that ball, you know? And so that comes with the coaching, I think. And then, one of your favorite guys, Sid, Jaquan McMillan.
Oh, yeah.
He's been a ball hawk. I mean,
he really has.
He's really jumping routes, and he's that must come from film study, I would think, Sid, just being able to have an idea of what route the receiver is going to run, and then you kind of just jump on it. So I do think some of it is luck, of course. Maybe you have the opposing offense in a situation where they got to throw the ball, or maybe it's a deflected pass or something like that. That's a little bit fortunate, but the other stuff, I think that it's a focus for the Broncos.
Definitely. Yeah. And Phil, you mentioned Jaquan McMillan. Sticking there in the secondary, head coach Sean Payton talked about Kareem Jackson earlier, and that, of course, he's going to be out for the next few games here. So who do you expect to really step up in his place?
Well, we'll have to see what happens with PJ Locke.
Right.
He did not practice on Wednesday. And then if he can't go, it's probably Delarin Turner-Yell.
Right.
So I don't know. That is going to be a focus, where the Broncos are going to have to figure out how they could get the right type of play out of whoever's in that spot there, because Kareem Jackson had been playing very well this year, flying around, and when he's out there, it's communication with Justin Simmons. It's like just so fluid.
Right.
And so I think that makes a big difference not having K-Jack.
Definitely.
Now, when PJ Locke was in there, he was able to continue to make those plays, had an interception. Yeah. So I think that he could do it. But then when PJ got hurt, Turner-Yell had a little bit of a tough time out there. So maybe if you're going to be the guy all week long and preparing that way, you come into it a little bit different, maybe a little bit more prepared. But that is going to be a big priority, especially trying to stop the run against the Browns. Just the gap integrity, being in the right position to make the tackle, coming up and filling the right hole. That's a big deal for a safety. And this Browns team really likes to run the football. They got a rookie quarterback starting in DTR. So stopping the run is going to be a priority. And so that's going to be a big deal. Like you saw Turner-Yell out there a couple times against Miami, where the gap wasn't exactly filled properly, and it led to some explosive plays. So maybe he's learned from that experience there, and he'll be ready to go for the Broncos. I think that is going to have to be something that we watch as the week goes on.
As the week goes on, yeah. I know Coach Payton and Justin Simmons, they both talked about J.L. Skinner today, too. They were both asked about him, too. So maybe he's part of the conversation.
On the scout team. And Sean Payton said he's noticed. I think Skinner was active for the first time last week. So,
yes. Yeah, you're right.
So that could be another option for the Broncos as they try to find somebody to replace K-Jack.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how things go for the rest of the week here. There will be practice tomorrow on Thanksgiving, Phil, but no media.
We're going to be eating turkey.
Yeah, we're going to be eating turkey. No media, so we don't have to be here. So no Broncos Now tomorrow either. But it should be fun.
Thankful for this good Broncos team.
I was going to say,
the 5 wins.
What are we thankful for this year?
I think just like talking, meaningful football.
Yeah, talking about some wins.
That are relevant. Yeah, I think all you want is that for these games down the stretch to mean something, you know,
100%.
and like talk about the angles and say, okay, if this team wins and this team loses, what does that mean?
We haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah, that's the exciting part about this time of year is, looking around. And even Sean Payton today said, gosh, being in the AFC is a little bit different for him because you look at the rest of the scores. He's like, wait, which team do I need to lose?
Again? Right.
Yeah, like who do we want to, not perform well?
Yeah.
And so he said he's even learning that. But I think as the season goes on, if you're talking about things like that, that means something's going well. And thankful for this 4-game winning streak from the Broncos.
Me too. I am as well. Phil, thanks for joining the show today.
Thanks, Ed. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Well, that's going to do it for today's episode. Broncos Country, thanks so much for tuning in. There will not be a show tomorrow, so I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I will meet you right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube Friday afternoon. See you all then.